What if being a loser is actually the beginning of a free life? Don't wish for things to happen the way you want. Wish for them to happen exactly as they do, and your life will flow smoothly. That's wisdom straight from Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who understood something many of us still wrestle with today. Let me ask you, have you ever felt like the world is quietly or loudly calling you a failure? Like no matter how hard you try, you're never quite enough for others or even for yourself. If that hits home, you're not alone. Today, we're diving into a topic that every single one of us bumps into sooner or later: the fear of being seen as a failure. But what if, and hear me out, being called a loser isn't the curse we think it is? What if it's actually the start of something real? In a culture that constantly shouts for more money, more fame, more attention, it's easy to feel like we're falling behind. But some of the wisest minds in history had a completely different idea of what it means to succeed. I'm talking about the Stoics, ancient thinkers who believed that success has nothing to do with external rewards and everything to do with the kind of person you are on the inside. So, if you've ever felt like you're losing at the world's game, or you're just exhausted from chasing goals that don't truly satisfy you, stick around. We're going to explore how Stoic wisdom can help you redefine success, let go of labels, and find a peace that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Let's get into it. Epictetus on true freedom. Embrace losing to win at life. Success according to the Stoics. When you hear the word success, what pops into your head? A luxury car, a fancy job title, a million followers. Now, what if we turned that idea on its head? Stoicism, a philosophy born in ancient Greece and refined in Rome, offers a refreshingly different take. Thinkers like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca didn't care much for flashy achievements. To them, true success wasn't about having more, it was about needing less. Epictetus taught that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Real strength, he believed, comes from within. Inner peace, freedom, resilience, those are the true victories in life. Even Marcus Aurelius, who literally ruled the Roman Empire, found deeper meaning in simplicity, self-control, and living with integrity. His meditations are full of reminders that the real battle is inside us, not out in the world of riches and praise. And Seneca? He believed that a calm, virtuous life was worth more than any wealth. According to him, happiness rooted in ethics and wisdom is unshakable, no matter what fortune throws your way. And this isn't just some dusty ancient idea. Philosophers like Aristotle spoke of eudaimonia, a life of flourishing, guided by virtue and reason. Socrates pushed for self-awareness and examined living. Even Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that true fulfillment comes from becoming your authentic self, not someone else's idea of success. So maybe success isn't about standing at the top of some imaginary ladder. Maybe it's about standing tall within yourself. The weight of the loser label. There's this quiet fear that creeps into so many of our lives, the fear of being seen as a loser. And it's not just a silly insult, it's a label that holds serious weight in our society. Why? Because we've been trained to believe in a narrow definition of success. Society hands us a checklist: high-paying job, impressive lifestyle, recognition. And if we don't check those boxes, people start to judge, sometimes harshly. Sometimes we judge ourselves. But here's where Stoicism offers something radically liberating. It says, you are not what you have. You are how you live. You are your character, your decisions, your ability to stay calm in chaos, to act with courage and kindness, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. The Stoics remind us that real success is quiet. It's the strength to keep going when things don't go your way. It's the wisdom to know what matters and the courage to let go of what doesn't. Final thoughts: redefining winning. So maybe, just maybe, being labeled a loser by the world means you're no longer trapped by it. Maybe it's the first step toward creating a life that's truly your own, one rooted in purpose, peace, and personal power. You don't need permission to live a meaningful life. You don't need applause to be proud of who you are. And if that sounds like a journey you want to begin, then congratulations, you've already started. Chasing validation, a Stoic reframe of success. So many of us are quietly haunted by the fear of being seen as failures. We burn ourselves out chasing success, not on our own terms, but based on standards handed to us by society. Approval, recognition, accolades. But what if we've been looking in the wrong place all along? Stoic philosophy invites us to step back and ask, what if real happiness doesn't come from external validation, but from within? What if peace of mind and self-respect are more valuable than applause? Let's be clear, this doesn't mean we should abandon our dreams or ambitions. Far from it. Stoicism isn't about giving up. It's about letting go of our obsession with outcomes. We can strive, we can aim high, but we do it with the understanding that we don't control everything. What we do control is how we show up, how we act, and who we become in the process. And that's incredibly freeing. When we stop tying our self-worth to results or recognition, we take a massive weight off our shoulders. The fear of failure loses its grip. The label loser stops meaning anything. We're finally free to live honestly, to chase goals that actually resonate with who we are, not who the world says we should be. Who gets to define success? From billboards on the highway to highlight reels on social media, we're constantly bombarded with polished pictures of what success is supposed to look like. Wealth, fame, power. But here's the question: why should someone else's definition of success decide how we feel about our own lives? Let's challenge that. Let's expand it. Imagine a small cafe owner. Her shop sits quietly on a corner, not exactly making headlines or earning millions. But it's a place full of hearts, connection, and community. Customers return not just for coffee, but for warmth and familiarity. Isn't that a kind of success? Or take someone working in tech, dedicated to solving complex problems, improving lives behind the scenes. Their name might never trend online, their work might never go viral, but they're quietly shaping the future. Isn't that meaningful? True success is deeply personal. It can't be boxed into numbers or trophies. It's found in the little things. A conversation that lifts someone up, a project that reflects your passion, the quiet satisfaction of living in alignment with your values. Reclaiming success for ourselves. Philosophers have long spoken about this. Aristotle, for example, introduced the idea of eudaimonia, a life of flourishing through virtue, purpose, and self-development. Not just being happy, but becoming who you're meant to be. Socrates pushed the idea that a meaningful life is one that's examined and lived with awareness. Modern psychology echoes these ancient ideas. Studies show that genuine fulfillment comes from doing meaningful work, from relationships, creativity, and self-expression, not from wealth or status. Living with intention, doing what feels right to you, that's where real satisfaction grows. So what if we started measuring success in terms of joy, purpose, and alignment with our values? Whether you're raising a family, writing poems, helping others, building something small but meaningful. It all counts. It all matters. This is the kind of success that leaves a lasting imprint, not just on the world, but on your own soul. The trap of chasing the wrong things. Stoicism also warns us about a trap, putting our happiness in the hands of things we can't control. When your joy depends on money, titles, or approval, you're building your identity on unstable ground. Epictetus compared this to building a house on sand. Inevitably, it crumbles. He urged us instead to build ourselves from the inside out, to develop our virtues, strength, patience, self-control, compassion. Because while the world may change, our inner character is always ours to shape. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, reminded himself that external events are neutral. It's our reaction to them that creates suffering or peace. Seneca took it a step further, saying that even those with everything could feel miserable, and those with little could live with serenity. Why? Because happiness in its purest form is an inside job, a modern reflection. In today's culture, where success often gets reduced to material gain and popularity, Stoicism is a refreshing voice in the noise. It doesn't ask us to give up ambition, but it does ask us to look inward, to question what we're chasing and why. If we want a life of real meaning, maybe we start by redefining what winning looks like. Maybe we let go of needing to be seen a certain way, and instead focus on becoming the kind of person we can genuinely be proud of. That is a life well lived. What if being a loser is the start of real freedom? We live in a world obsessed with appearances, titles, likes, trophies, and shiny success stories. And by society's standards, stepping away from that race can earn you a pretty unforgiving label, loser. But what if wearing that label isn't a failure at all? What if it's freedom? The Stoics, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, they weren't just thinkers. They were everyday philosophers navigating the messiness of life with clarity. And they all agreed on one thing: true success doesn't come from outside of you, it grows from within. So what do you actually gain when you stop chasing external validation? You gain yourself. You begin to live on your own terms, not based on someone else's checklist of success, but on your values, your character, your truth. When you stop running after approval, wealth, and social clout, you create space for something more lasting: inner peace. You begin cultivating traits the Stoics held sacred: courage, self-discipline, wisdom, justice. Epictetus, born into slavery, taught that what truly matters isn't our circumstances, but how we choose to respond to them. Success in this light is no longer about outcomes, but about integrity, about showing up with strength even when life doesn't cooperate. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and one of the most powerful men in history, constantly reminded himself of life's fragility. All the gold in the world couldn't replace the simple, grounded strength of a tranquil mind. What remains when the applause fades? Your sense of self, your clarity, your peace, your peace. Seneca cautioned against chasing the wind, sacrificing inner stillness for outer status. He urged us to focus on what truly enriches the soul, not the bank account. Now zoom out. Imagine a world where more people measured success by inner peace instead of external status. Fewer breakdowns, less anxiety, more connection, more calm. Poem. Redefining ambition on your own terms. Here's the truth. Embracing what the world calls loserdom isn't about giving up. It's about waking up. It's about asking a powerful question. Am I pursuing this because I value it, or because I'm afraid of how I'll be judged if I don't? When you drop society's script You don't become a loser, you become liberated. You start measuring your days not by status or salary, but by things that actually matter: the strength of your relationships, the joy in your daily rituals, and the peace you carry in your heart. That's not losing. That's winning at life. A radical, yet grounded, view of personal worth. Stoicism presents a bold but beautiful idea. Your value is not defined by your resume, your bank balance, or your follower count. Your worth is rooted in your choices, your actions, and your character. Epictetus faced enormous hardship, yet he became one of history's most respected voices, not because of his status, but because of his wisdom. He proved that dignity, kindness, and resilience are not reserved for the privileged. They're available to anyone who commits to living with virtue. Marcus Aurelius, despite all his power, was more interested in humility and reflection than conquest. His meditations weren't about ruling better, they were about being better. Seneca, despite his wealth, warned that true richness comes not from gold, but from peace of mind and moral clarity. So ask yourself this: what brings you real fulfillment? What aligns with your core? Is it the quiet joy of reading a book that challenges you? Is it deep conversation, small acts of kindness, or helping others in ways no one sees? According to the Stoics, this is success, not the noise, not the show, but the life that aligns with who you truly are. The real victory lies within. Most of us tie our happiness to things we can't actually control: our jobs, recognition, relationships, or reputation. But Stoicism offers us a different path, one rooted in what is within our control: our values, our actions, our perspective. When you stop chasing the world's approval and instead live by your principles, you gain something rare: self-trust. That doesn't mean you won't pursue goals or enjoy recognition when it comes. It means your identity and peace don't depend on them. Now imagine the freedom of that mindset. No more fear of failing. No more constant comparisons. Just the freedom to be you, fully, imperfectly, beautifully you. When we ground ourselves in virtue, reason, kindness, resilience, we stop being tossed around by life's chaos. We become steady, calm, capable. That's the Stoic idea of a real win. Not a trophy, but tranquility. Not a crowd's cheer, but the quiet confidence that you've lived in alignment with who you are. Your journey starts within. So, if you've ever felt like you don't measure up to society's idea of success, remember this: you are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply on a different path. One that might look quieter, simpler, slower, but also one that is more genuine, more peaceful, more you. Because in the end, the most meaningful victories aren't won in the spotlight. They're won in the quiet moments of courage, of truth, of choosing values over vanity. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this message resonates with you, stick around. Explore more. Reflect deeper. Let's keep growing together in wisdom, in strength, and in freedom. Welcome to the Stoic Way.